All right. I think we are live. What's up, everybody? Special edition of Orioles Weekly. We got a lot to talk about. And that's why I'm having an episode tonight. We didn't do anything Monday. My dad was in town. So we couldn't go live on Monday. But we just got finished watching the series with the Orioles against the St. Louis Cardinals. A team that came into this series at 20-26. And the O's laid an egg, and I mean like they laid a big egg in this series. And we're gonna kind of break it down a little bit, talk a little bit about the series, talk about where the Orioles stand, talk about different things of what I've noticed so far. Hey, Daniel Barry, welcome in. Good to see you. Happy Wednesday. First and foremost, again, this is just my opinion. I totally understand if people don't want to, don't agree with it. Curtis Blake, welcome in. Yeah, let's go O's. Wasn't a good series against St. Louis. So let's kind of get into it. We'll talk a little bit about it, and then I'll kind of give my take on where I think we are with this and where we should be. Because as the title says, is it time to worry? I think it's time to worry. I don't think it's time to panic, but I do think there's a lot of different aspects to this team that we should be worried about. That we should honestly not bury our heads in the sand here. We can't bury our heads in the sand and say, oh, everything's going to be fine, no problem, it's still early, blah, blah, blah. That's not the case here. Okay, and we're going to get into it in a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about the series itself. The Orioles had a 3-game set against, again, St. Louis. St. Louis came into this series as, I know they were winning more, but they were still 20-26. This is a team that the Orioles should beat. I'm sorry, they just should beat this team. They don't have to sweep them, but they got to win the series. These teams that are under 500, you've got to find a way to win these series because you're going to start playing better teams, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And the easy part of the schedule, as I called it, is going to considerably get harder as we get further and further in away from May into June. Hey, Victor, welcome in. So let's kind of go into it. Of course, the first game of the series, they faced Sonny Gray, who pitched pretty well for what it's worth. He pitched really well. Dean Kramer was terrible. Kramer came in 4 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned, 3 walks, 2 Ks. His ERA is now 4.32. Orioles lost 6-3. In that game against the Cardinals in the first game of the series, they got 3 hits the entire game. 3 hits. 1 by Gunnar Henderson, 1 by O'Hearn, and 1 by Westberg. That's it. They got one. They got a couple. They did get some. They got a couple walks for sure. They got 4 walks, and they struck out 7 times. But nothing. They're just 3 hits the entire game in game 1, and they lost 6-3. In game 2, which was the suspended game from yesterday, it was 1-1 going into the 6th inning. Promptly, the Orioles give it up and give up a 2-run homer, and they lose 3-1. Again, 1 run. Again, only 3 hits by the entire team. 1 by Mountcastle, 1 by Stowers, and 1 by Mateo. So then they lose game 2, 3-1. Bradish pitched well. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 Ks. ERA's at 2.41. He pitched really, really well. But the Orioles let a guy like Lance Lynn beat him. He had come into the series, I think, with like a 5 ERA or something like that. He wasn't pitching well. But, again, Orioles don't hit. They do nothing with runners on base. And they lose 3-1 in the suspended game. And then we get into the disaster that is the final game of the series. And, again, I'm not going to sugarcoat things, folks. That's just not who I am. It's not what I do. The third game of the series, what do you think is the root cause? Everything right now. Well, we'll get into it in a little bit here, Victor. I'll kind of go into what I think it is because there's several factors. But then in the final game of the series, the Orioles get off to a little bit of a good start. They get 3 runs in the 3rd inning and they're up 3-0. They can't score again until the 9th inning. But anyway, they're up 3-0. They give up a run in the 5th inning, make it 3-1. They give up 3 more in the 6th inning to make it 4-3. Disaster of an inning. Cole Irvin, first off, he does induce a ground ball where to Gunnar Henderson boots it. Probably would have been an inning-ending double play, but it wasn't. But that being said, this is where they got to pick each other up. Guy makes a mistake, you got to pick him up. And they don't do that here. He boots the ball. Next batter comes up. Cole Irvin leaves the ball over the middle of the plate. He drives it into the gap. They score the tying run. Then we try to throw the guy out at third. We throw the ball away for the second error of the at-bat of the inning. And then they score the go-ahead run to go up 4-3. And then they get a home run in the seventh inning to go up 5-3. And then we get to the ninth inning. And again, I think this is where I'm going to be really, really hard on the Orioles here. And again, I know we don't have a lot of people watching, but maybe if you're watching the replay. So we lead off with Austin Hayes gets a single, a ground ball single, a weak ground ball, but he just happens to hit it where nobody is, thank goodness. So he's on base, first man on first, nobody out. Cedric Mullins comes up, he gets a base hit. Again, wasn't hit really hard, but it gets past the infielders. So the Orioles now have first and second, nobody out in the ninth inning. Still down 2 runs, first and second, nobody out now. That's important. And they bring up their third hitter of the inning, pinch hitter Kyle Stowers. Stowers on the second or third pitch hits a blast to right field. And I'm sorry. Gunnar on the base hit by Mullins, Hayes goes to third. He goes first to third on Mullins' base hit. So it's first and third, nobody out, with Stowers at the plate. So Stowers hits a shot to right field. The right fielder starts running for the ball, and he makes a really nice catch. It's not a spectacular catch. He didn't have to dive. He didn't jump over the fence. It was a running catch. He went up, and he got it. Well, Hayes tags, but Mullins, for some reason, is already around second base when the guy catches the ball in right field, and he can't get back. They throw it to first base, and they double him off. And just like that, you got 2 outs with nobody on. Gunnar Henderson comes up next, hits a ground ball to the second base, shortstop, game's over. Orioles lose 5-4. But to me, this is a culmination of just bad mistakes that this team is making in crucial situations. There's no reason for Mullins to have to be that aggressive on the base pass. Because here's my thought. If he goes halfway from first base, guy doesn't catch it. Okay, he doesn't catch it. The ball's going to get down. It's in right field. At the very least, Mullins is going to be on third, and it's going to be second and third with nobody out. Because if he doesn't catch it, Stowers is going to get a double. He's going to be on second. And then Mullins, at the very least, is going to be on third with nobody out. You've got to make sure that ball is down. He didn't do that. He did not do that. He just put his head down and starts going. And they have to scream at him to try to get him to go back. That's just bad base running there. There's absolutely no reason for him to have to be that aggressive, especially when you're losing like that. It's not like it was 1 out or 2 outs or something like that and we really need the run. We do need the run, but we've got to make sure we don't run ourselves out of an inning, and that's exactly what we did there. Make sure the ball is down. If you can't score, it's not like it's 1 out or 2 outs or something like that. It was nobody out. And he gets doubled off of first base. And essentially that kills the rally and the game's over. And the Orioles lose 5-4. It's bad. It's really bad right now. And what's been worrying me is I can't sit here as a true Orioles fan. I'm not going to be a homer just to be a homer. I've never been that way. I love my team. I want them to win. I love it when they win. I'm really happy. But when they're playing bad, I'm going to tell you they're playing bad. And right now, offensively, they are bad. They have been so inconsistent. They are not getting big hits. It seems like if they don't hit home runs, they can't score. It was a little bit better today. They didn't hit any out. They got 4 runs, and they didn't hit a home run. So be it. But as an Orioles fan, they have got to learn to be better at situational hitting and to understand to take what's given to them. And they're just not doing that. We're seeing some bad at-bats, strikeouts. It's just not good right now with the way they're hitting. And it's not something that's just this series. Okay? That's the other thing, too. over the month of, now they were really good in April offensively. Fine, great. But April was a weak month. Look at the schedule in April. They really didn't face a lot of teams that were that good. But in the month of May, so far they've played 18 games. 10 of the 18 games, they've scored 3 runs or less. In more than half of the games, they've scored 3 runs or less. Hey, Sony 4K, welcome in. Good to see you. 3 runs or less in more than half of those games. 10 out of the 18. And they're not doing well at all right now. Nobody's hitting. Everybody's inconsistent. Gunnar Henderson's really the only one that's doing anything on a consistent basis. Westberg was hot for a while there. He's cooled off a little bit. Kowser's been inconsistent in May as well. But there's a lot of holes in this Orioles offense. And we'll get to the bullpen soon enough. But you've got guys on this team with the Orioles that at this point, how much longer do we have to rely on track records that really aren't even that good? Their track records are offensively okay. They're not anything great. But we have guys like, I'll give you an example. And again, this is kind of a rant for me because I'm really starting to worry about this team and where they're going to be very, very soon. Hopefully they'll do like they did last year. There's a lot of times last year where they started to struggle, and I was like, oh, here we go. Finally the other shoe's going to drop, and reality's going to set in. And every time I thought that, they would regroup and rebound and do well. I'm hoping they're going to do that again this year, but I am worrying. So when I look at this team, I'll give you a hint of just some of the players that they have. Cedric Mullins batting 191 on the season. Austin Hayes batting 148. Anthony Santander batting 206. That's your starting outfield. James McCann batting 208. Ramon Urias batting 186. This is 5 guys of your 26 that are batting almost under 200, all of them. They are not producing at all. Hey, Jeannie, welcome in. Good to see you. This is a problem. This team has to score runs because the bad part about it is if they had scored runs at all during this time, imagine what their record would be. Because the pitching has been, starting pitching, for the most part, has been really, really good. They've got one of the best ERAs for for pitching in all of baseball, and it's really been wasted. Now look, I get it. And again, I want to hear from you guys in the chat. I get it. They're in second place. They're 12 games over 500. All well and good, guys. I understand that. But what you've got to look deeper. It's just that simple. You can't just look on the surface. You've got to look deeper. Hey, Jedi Master Joe, welcome in. Look deeper at this team. This team's got to turn this around because if you look at their schedule in June, things are really going to start becoming harder for this team. Brutal. Their schedule in June, and we're going to go over it in a minute, is going to become very brutal. And they've got to turn this around right away. But I'm not going to bury my head in the sand and say, oh, Cedric Mullins, he'll turn it around. He'll be fine. Look at his track record. He's a 30-30 guy. By the way, he was a 30-30 guy 3 seasons ago. Austin Hayes, he was a Gold Glove finalist last year, and he was an All-Star last year. That's last year. What about this year? I need him to show up. And these are the things, that are starting to become a worry because we're not early in the season anymore. This is not I've been hearing people say, "Oh, it's still early. It's still early. It's still lots of games to go." Guys, this is the end of May now. Okay, we're rolling into June. We're rolling into the dog days of summer. We're at the end of May now, so we've been 2 full months into the season. And we've got guys batting under 200 or right at 200 with plenty of at-bats. Something has to give. If this team wants to contend, these guys have got to show up or they've got to find other options. It's just that simple. And I'm sorry if it sounds harsh, but how much of a leash do we give these guys or how much rope do we give them? Are we going to give them enough that they're going to hang themselves and then hang the team? This is the worry that I have with this team. Luckily, they have a series against the Chicago White Sox coming up next. Okay? That's the next series they have starting tomorrow. And by the way, we're going to be calling the game tomorrow night right here on the Birdland Network. We're going to be doing the play-by-play. Chicago White Sox have the worst record in the American League. They're 15-34. I'm sorry. I'm going to call it right now. The Orioles better win 3. They better sweep them. They better sweep them. If they're just getting swept by St. Louis, if they sweep them, that's great. I'm not going to accept anything less than 3 out of 4 against the White Sox. Period. They've got to win these games. They've got to find a way. They've got to start hitting. Somebody's got to wake up. They need to have a team meeting or something like that. And I get it. Everybody's probably saying, Walt, they have like the 3rd best record in the American League. Right. They all no. Now they have the 4th best record. Kansas City's got a better record than the Orioles now. They've gone ahead of the O's. So there's a lot you think that has to happen. The batting coach gets the act. Victor, I don't know that it's necessarily the hitting coach. These guys, the ones that aren't hitting, aren't the rookies. Or even like the 2 or 3 year players. These are the veterans. Santander, Mullins, Hayes, Urias, McCann. These are all guys that have been in this game for 5, 6, 7, 8 years and more. If it's I don't know that it is the hitting coach. Maybe he'll have some blame. I don't know what their approach is with these players, but something has to give. Maybe that is the change they need to have. I don't know, but they're not walking. They're too aggressive at times with their at bats. They're like last in all of baseball, or next to last in baseball in walks. They're striking out. It's just not good overall. But luckily the pitching has kept them in games, and that's been their saving grace. It really has. If we had the same pitching we had last year, where we weren't that good with the starters, we would be in bad shape right now. It's just that simple, and it is what it is. But I'm going to be honest. But when I look at this schedule, the next 4 games are against the White Sox, and then they have the Red Sox at home. And again, winnable series, both of them. The Red Sox have just gone over 500 because they've won 3 in a row. But they're still 7.5 games out of first place, 5 behind the Orioles. The O's got to start stepping up. Just that simple. It's just that simple. Because when June rolls around, they've got Tampa Bay. They've got the Blue Jays. They've got Tampa Bay again. Then they've got the Braves. Then they've got the Phillies. Then they've got the Yankees. Then they've got the Astros. Then they've got the Guardians. And then they've got the Rangers. That's their schedule in June. I'll go over it again one more time. Starting in June, they've got the Rays, who are at 500. And then they've got the Blue Jays, who are, again, 5 games under 500, but they took 2 out of 3 from us last time they played us. And they got the Rays and the Rays again. And then they've got the Braves, who have got like the second one of the best, second best or third best record in the National League. And they've got the Phillies, who have the best record in baseball. Then they have the Yankees, who are in first place in the American League East. And then they have the Astros, who I'm still not giving up on them. Although the Astros are playing pretty bad right now, they are getting better. They have won like 7 out of the last 10. They're now in third place in their division. And then after the Astros, they've got the Guardians. And the Guardians are in first place with a better record than the Orioles, playing .660 ball. And then after the Guardians, they got the Rangers. And the Rangers are playing basically 500 ball. They're 1 game under 500. June's going to be brutal. It just is. It's going to be brutal for the O's. So they've got to be able to turn it around. This team has been struggling, and it's been hard to watch. Kudos to the pitching staff on the starting side. Again, they've been doing really, really well. Got to give them credit for that. Bullpen has been erratic and volatile. Sometimes they're really good, and at other times they just cough it up. They've done that. The Orioles have some work to do. They really do. I think that Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde are going to have to sit down at some point, and there's not a lot of off days in June either. They're going to have to make some decisions on some guys, because I think June might be a make or break for the O's. I really do. They have a lot of really good teams that they're going to be facing in June, and it could be their make or break for them as to whether or not they do or don't contend for another American League East title. They've got to find a way. The Orioles have not been able to string together a lot of wins at all this season. I think the most they've done in the season so far for winning in a row is 4. They've won 4 games in a row. That's their biggest win streak so far this year, is 4, from what I'm seeing. Oh, I could be looking at that wrong, but from what I'm seeing, the O's have only won like 4 games in a row. So it's not been the best start for them. But, again, we'll see what happens. And maybe they'll turn it around. Maybe they won't. But I hope they do. Because it's been really tough. I want to hear from you guys in the chat. I know a lot of you in here are not Orioles fans. But what do you think? Yeah, it looks like the O's have, I think their biggest winning streak is there's 3 there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 there. 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 4 game winning streak is the biggest they've had so far this year. And so they haven't been able to string together a lot of wins, which is really, really kind of frustrating. And hopefully they'll turn it around. I don't know, but they better do it quick. Because, again, they got a lot of big games coming up. But, again, starting tomorrow night, we'll have the White Sox-Orioles game. Friday night, the White Sox-Orioles game will be on Apple. I might stream that game because Melissa's out of town. She's going up to Maine for a wedding. So I may stream that game. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But frustrating times for the Orioles. Plus, if things couldn't get any worse, John Means left the game after today's rain delay. He was having discomfort, of all things, in his pitching elbow. That's not good news. So hopefully he's okay. They're going to run some tests on him. That would be the last thing the Orioles need, is to lose one of their starting pitchers. Means hasn't been great, but he's been good. He's been very, very reliable, very consistent. I hope, fingers crossed that he's okay. But I don't know. The Orioles have got to find a way to turn this around. I think they will, but I'm afraid to get too confident because I just can't read this team. It can't be all on Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman and Jordan Westberg to win these games offensively. Because everybody else in this lineup has been inconsistent at best. Mountcastle's been inconsistent. O'Hearn's been inconsistent. All 3 of the outfielders, Hayes, Mullins, and Santander, have just been bad. Who else is there? Cowser's been inconsistent for the most part. Maybe he's starting to turn it around. He had a couple more good at-bats today. But he's a rookie, so I'm not really relying on him too much. It's been tough to watch this. And for me, the worry is starting to set in. I think that we have to start to worry about where this team is and stop putting our head in the sand and saying, oh, everything's going to be fine. Oh, we got nothing to worry about. I'm not worried about this team. They're going to turn it around. I've been saying this for the last month, since the beginning of May when they started to play this inconsistent baseball, and it hasn't turned around since. So hopefully the O's will do something. Victor says, what about changing the batting order? I wish the Mets would do something like that as well. Very frustrating. I think there's something to be said for that. I think there's some validity there. I think they're vastly misusing Gunnar Henderson in the leadoff spot. I think Gunnar Henderson is your biggest power potential threat on this team, and yet he's your leadoff hitter. He should be your number 3 or 4 hitter. Put him in the part of the lineup where he's going to do the most damage. I just don't understand why he's batting first. What we hear from Brandon Hyde is I bat him first because I want him to get as many at-bats as we can get. He's had 5 home runs this year in the leadoff spot. Those are 5 solo home runs. Now, don't get me wrong, they're great. He's having a great season. He's in the running for American League MVP. But I just think he's better used and will bring more power potential and bring more damage to the opposing team by hitting lower in the lineup. Hit Adley Rutschman first. Jordan Westberg can bat first. Or if somebody's hot right now, if Jorge Mateo's been hitting and doing well, put Mateo at first. Bat him first when he's in the games. If he's hitting well, I don't know. I don't agree with, Cedric Mullins has worked his way out of the leadoff spot, and he doesn't deserve to be there, and that's why he hits as low as he does in the order, and he's not going to hit higher in the order. If we can get Hayes going, if Hayes starts hitting the ball, he's not going to be a home run threat. Bat Hayes first if he can finally turn it around. I just don't think Gunnar Henderson should be your leadoff hitter. I don't. And they keep giving O'Hearn these at-bats against right-handers. I think Stowers should be playing more. Or Heston Kjerstad. I think these guys, who are much younger, much more athletic, with a lot more power, should be starting. Should be playing. I really do. And I like O'Hearn. Don't get me wrong. I do. I like O'Hearn. But he's been hit or miss this year too. We caught lightning in a bottle with him last year, and that was awesome. But I don't know that we're going to get it again this year. Just my opinion. And again, anybody in the chat, please, I want to hear from you. If I'm being overly dramatic, or if you think I'm spot on in certain aspects, I'd love to hear from you. But we'll see how this goes. I'm going to really watch the articles on Masson from Rock Kubatko and Steve Molesky over the next 24 hours to see what kind of updates we get on John Means, to see what kind of updates we get on the roster. I think the Orioles are getting to that point now where, not panic, but they too will start to understand that they can't continue to lose games they should win. Because every game you lose, and again, you guys are going to be like, no kidding, Captain Obvious, but you can't get those back. You can't make up losses. And these are crucial games that they lose, and it's going to come back to bite them. I hate to say that, but it's going to come back to bite them. At least now with the streak being over, I think they won 106 series, which I think is second longest in the history of the game, without being swept. Now that that's behind us and they were swept by St. Louis, they can forget that, wipe it out of their minds. No more pressure about having to keep the streak alive. That's done with. Maybe they can start fresh. Hopefully this will be a wake-up call for this team. Hopefully they'll be able to sit back and say, you know what, we just got smoked by a team that's 6 games under 500. And it's time to wake up. And somebody needs to step up and say, you know what, team? Time to answer the bell. Let's go. And get it going. And what we're going to find out, what really gets me, folks, is, and again, this is more of a rant than it is really talking about the O's. I think they're such a good team. The potential is there. But they do have holes. And these holes are being exposed. And I don't think, for the first time, I actually have a beef with Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde. They're not filling these holes with other options. They are doing this whole, we're going to be loyal to our players type thing. To an extent, maybe, but not to the point where they're a detriment to the team. And somebody will say to me, well, Mullins got a hit today. Maybe he's going to break out of it. Or, oh, Hayes had 2 really good hit balls today. Maybe he's going to break out of it. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. And then we go 4 more games where they go 1 for 25, and then they come back with one game where they go 1 for 4, but hit the ball hard 3 times. Well, maybe this is the game they're going to break out of it. And then another 4 or 5 games go by where they're 2 for 20. And then I can't have that. I just can't have that. You've got to be consistent every single game. And you don't have to have a 56-game hitting streak, but you need to hit in 3 of 4 games, or 4 of 6 games, or 7 of 10 games, or 5 of 10 games, not 1 of 10 games. And then all of a sudden we're supposed to think you're going to break out of it because you had 1 good game. I'm not having it. Santander had that big game against Cincinnati where he hit the grand slam and he had 2 hits or something like that. He hasn't done nothing since. So, and everybody's like, oh, this is where he's going to break out of it. He hit a grand slam today. He had 5 RBIs. He had 2 hits. And he's going to break out of it. And he didn't do anything. He hasn't done anything since. So, I need consistency over a longer period of time, not one game or 2 games. And they're just not doing it offensively. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. Again, we'll be here tomorrow night. We're going to call the game. I hope you guys can join us for it. I see we got 8 people in here watching. Thank you all. I think we got up to as high as maybe 10 or 12 people watching. I appreciate it. Look, it was a last-minute thing, so I appreciate all of you coming in. I did just post a new video today of my all-time greatest defensive players in Major League Baseball. At each position. So I have my pitcher, my catcher, my first, second, third, short, outfield. You guys get a chance, go watch that. It was fun making that video. It's not long. It's only about 11 minutes. So if you get a chance, go check out that video. Other than that, we're about 16 subscribers away from 600. I'm hoping tomorrow night when we get to call the game tomorrow night, that we can hit that 600 mark. That would be amazing if we got there. Thanks, Sony. I appreciate you doing that. Yeah, we do have a Disney channel as well right there, Mouse Talk. You see all my Disney stuff behind us. We got like 17,000 subscribers over there. It might even be more than that. I think it's 17. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. I just wanted to vent a little bit about these O's who just have been really frustrating me. You know, I went into this series. I told my dad, look, we've got a series against St. Louis for 3, the White Sox for 4, and the Red Sox for 3. It's a 10-game series. I said we got to go 7-3. That was my take. I said we got to beat these teams that we're supposed to beat. That we need to go 7-3. That was my prediction. I said got to go 7-3 against these bad teams. Well, they've already lost 3, so that now means for my prediction to come to life, they've got to win the next 7 in a row because they lost 3 in a row, and that's probably not going to happen the way they're playing, which is a bummer. But you never know. Maybe they'll prove me wrong and they'll play better. But it's been difficult to watch. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this little rant. Praying and hoping my O's get a little bit better. But I hope you all have a good rest of your night. Join me tomorrow night. Again, broadcast will start, I guess, about 7:30, about 10 minutes before the game starts. I think the game's at 7:40 tomorrow. I don't know what the time is. If one of my mods could share it out real fast, I'd appreciate it. But if you're watching the replay, I appreciate you watching the replay. And let's just hope the O's can turn it around. But guys, thanks for being here. Take care of yourselves and each other. Keep rooting for those O's or your team, whoever that might be. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for being here, everybody. Bye now.